when and here is the full critical capabilities of threat modeling, all the activities that you need to have in place, the questions that you can ask around threat modeling, and who will be responsible for threat modeling. First of all, let's start off with a definition. What is threat modeling actually? Well, it's a structured approach. It's a structured approach for identifying and prioritizing potential threats to a system. So software related, application related, potential threats to a system, any system. So it's very cybersecurity related, and determining the value that potential mitigations would have in reducing or neutralizing those threats, if you even need to do that. And it has a lot to do with your risk profile and risk appetite in an organization. Threat modeling ensures that you have a process in place by which potential threats, such like structural vulnerabilities or the absence of appropriate safeguards, they can be identified and mitigations can be prioritized. And that's what you do with a threat modeling process in an organization. Um, so protect something of value, basically, which is usually, in this case, an application, a system, software related, cyber related. Now, what we need to start out with, when you start out with threat modeling, you'll get asked a lot of questions that'll come your way. And let me open up the questions. These are the questions that'll come your way. Where do these come from, these questions? And why am I putting these out here? These questions come from the self-assessment. They come from the book. They're in the self-assessment and the book. And they're also in the daily LinkedIn email that I send out. The top 48 questions to ask when you audit the subject of the day, threat modeling in our case. These 48 questions, you need to be able to answer those in your organization when you cover threat modeling, when you want to cover threat modeling. Let's just have a look at some of it. Let me zoom in so you can have a look. How do you determine legitimate versus nefarious traffic? How does threat modeling keep security a step ahead of the risks? Are your model components of cloud threat modeling different from non-cloud threat modeling? Good question. Is threat modeling too tough to produce actionable results? It could well be in a lot of organizations, threat modeling, because you don't know where to start. Well, hey, here we go. Here's your process, your model to get started with it. There's way more behind this, but I'm just showing you the questions that get thrown at you when you start out with threat modeling, and the questions that you need to be asking in your organization if you actually want to implement threat modeling. So what are the components of your threat modeling and risk measurement approaches? What is the process you use to conduct threat modeling, understand and measure cyber risk, and prioritize investments to mitigate? How much time do you have to decide if a threat is possible or not? Threats get thrown at you all the time, so you need to have a time allotment for that for yourself as well. What sort of skill sets or roles are assigned threat modeling tasks? And you see the list goes on and on. These are the 48 most important questions to ask in relation to threat modeling when you're looking at it from an auditing perspective or an implementation perspective, or simply when you're managing threat modeling in an organization. Have you done architectural analysis, risk analysis, and threat modeling of your software? How do you use a threat model to drive security tests? These are all threat modeling questions. And I'll just pan over them so you can, we're live, but if you want to rewatch it in the replay, you can pause it and have a look at those 48 questions, or sign up to the newsletter and then you get those 48 questions in your inbox. Now, there's more behind it, as I said. What we have here is the 48 questions, but let's just zoom in on just the top 5 questions, the top 5 questions, shall we? Just the top 6 questions, the 6 most important questions to ask in relation to threat modeling. Let's put threat modeling in the middle. There you go. Threat modeling in the middle. Okay. When you audit your data using threat modeling, how much security is enough? Watch what's happening. Double click. Here we go. That's the answer that I'm looking for in an organization. Be sure your personnel is involved in security functions as understanding cloud architecture and performing design reviews, threat modeling, code and configuration reviews, and incident response. So it's code and configuration reviews that need to be in place as well, and incident response in your cloud architecture when you're looking at cloud architecture from this perspective of threat modeling. Do you use threat modeling for new services, data, and applications to find the ways business capability can be attacked? Because that's what threat modeling is all about, to figure out how you can be attacked and to mitigate that upfront. Certified, the answer you're looking for. Your personnel is involved in infrastructure as code and performing threat modeling and design reviews to assess security implications and requirements for introduction of new technologies or products. So threat modeling is typically used when you introduce new software, new products, new technologies in your organization to make sure that it's really strong against potential threats and attackers. What rules do you have that capture security objectives resulting from the process of threat modeling and are created with knowing what information in your design needs to be protected? Rules to be in place. Develop experience performing threat modeling and design reviews to assess security implementations and requirements for introduction of new technologies. Have rules for that in place. How do you know if you are having a disruptive threat and have to innovate your business model? Verify that your group is identifying, prioritizing, and implementing security related requirements, have that in place, and enabling project teams to deliver secure IT solutions through effective risk management and threat modeling. So have threat modeling built in your project team's delivery of secure IT solutions, basically. We have one more open here. That's this one. Have you done architectural analysis, risk analysis, and threat modeling on your software? And we're looking for guide improvements to secure coding practices, application security requirements, security bug fixes, and integrate threat modeling practices into the SDLC. Have that in place. So when you've done architectural analysis, you have to figure out that it's built into your SDLC, software development lifecycle. So these are the top 5 questions that I need to be asking for to have threat modeling in place in my organization, and the answers that are related to it. Now, let me show you something else. These are the top 5. What happens if I double click on them? They unfold, they unpack, they actually show me what's going on, all the things that I need to be doing to be answering those 5 most important questions, the big 5 red balls. That's the critical criteria that I need to be doing are in the blue balls. And the other things that I'm seeing right now is a couple of things. The green balls, the light green balls, those are the prioritizations. So as I said before, all the critical capabilities are prioritized in the Kanban, and they're prioritized based on artificial intelligence software that we developed ourselves. Basically, the thought behind it is AI in natural language processing based on proximity, density of keywords that are relevant to the topic, which makes sense. What else do we see here? We see that they're all a must-have. So they're all a must-have. We have prioritized them, like I said, into 5 different categories. There's 5 different categories. The must-haves are the ones that you need to have in place for the topic at hand. We'll go through the other four categories as well later down the track. Other things that I see here are the blue balls here. This one's related to cloud security. Behavior analytics is a topic that comes into play when I'm looking at threat modeling. RBAC is a topic that comes into play. GSLC certification here. Field service management software, obviously to do with software rollouts here. So what I also have in place here is categories that are related, topics that are related to the main topic. So we have topics that are related to threat modeling that I need to have a look at to make sure that my threat modeling topic is well secured. So behavior analytics, for example, you can imagine that behavioral analytics is of interest to have a look at because I want to know what my potential attacker is thinking when they are approaching an attack on an application or on a system. So for behavior analytics, if I double click on that, this is what you'll see. There's more criteria that pop up that I can have a look at if I just want to look at a threat modeling from the angle of behavior analytics. These are all the criteria I need to look at. Other questions I can, let me click that back in there, otherwise the screen becomes too full. Other criteria I can look at when I want to answer a question, and that's the pink ball here. So this one was related to what rules do you have that capture security objectives resulting from the process of threat modeling and are created with knowing what information in your design needs to be protected. The answer to that one is this one. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can have a look at it as well. is this one: develop experience performing threat modeling and design reviews to assess security implications and requirements for introduction of new technologies. And I want to know what's involved in a threat assessment. And that question, I'm going to ask that to these people in my organization. I'm going to ask that question to who needs to be involved in a threat assessment and who can deliver input to that one. The MDR cyber threat responder, the digital technical specialist, director enterprise security applications, network threat support specialists, NTSS. What we see here, those what's the color? Orange. Those orange balls. Those are actually actual job titles of people in threat modeling, actual job titles of those people. And you'll find those in organizations, in your organization maybe, you'll find those job titles and people who are responsible for threat modeling. And they're concerned with all these red questions here, and they're concerned with this question, and they're looking for answers like these, the blue ones. So this gives you a great overview of actually what's involved in threat modeling. What are the highest prioritized questions? What are the answers, the highest prioritized questions, so the red balls? What are the answers that you're looking for? The blue balls here in your organization. And then what kind of categories are they related to? And there's many more categories. I'm going to show you all the categories later down the track as well. And another question that you can ask when you want to get a decent answer to the critical capability here, and who you can ask that in an organization. So if I double click this one, for instance, you get other people here as well. Mid-level penetration tester, cybersecurity risk analyst, information technology analyst for the security division. These are the people that are involved with threat modeling. All right. I hope that gives you a good overview of how things are connected. If I don't want to start with the questions, but just the three highest prioritized ones, and they're on the board here as well, the three highest priority. Oh, I've got to do it right. Copy paste. There we go. The three highest prioritized critical capabilities. So those are the three highest prioritized critical capabilities. Certify your personnel is involved in infrastructure as code, and we've seen that one before. Eh? See, that's that question again, the top question. And you see here as well another one. Ensure your staff is involved in security activities throughout the software development lifecycle, design reviews, threat modeling, fuzzing, code reviews, tooling, and penetration testing. That needs to be in place when we're doing threat modeling. And this one is another one. Lead architecture design reviews with development. I'm going to pull it up here. And product management to incorporate effective threat modeling and security standards and tools into product design and development again. So these are the top three highest highest prioritized critical capabilities that I need to have in place to ensure the threat modeling is done successfully in my organization. Question I can ask here: what's involved in the threat assessment? Do you use threat modeling for new services, data, and applications to find the ways business capability can be attacked? Where does it fit in the SDLC, system development lifecycle? Does the threat prevention service automatically update new malware signatures? See, that goes already into the deep end of threat modeling. And you see here other topics popping up that they are related to offensive security, and obviously that's what you're doing with threat modeling. You're doing offensive security, preventive security. Make sure that it's in place before you actually go live with the system. Cloud governance, a hefty topic here. If I double click on it, see what comes up. Here's another one. Be certain that your group is involved in common SDLC tools for cloud governance. That's how you roll out and use Git and all that. So these are the top three. I'm going to unclick this one because that wasn't one of the top three. These three are the top three that you need to have in place, activities that you need to have in place for threat modeling to be successful in an organization. Now, let's go and have a look at the what you need to have in place as well. One thing that you've seen here are these things: security. So that's a word, just a word. We have a word cloud in here based on based on all the critical capabilities and the words that are of most importance to the critical capabilities. So we'll see here words popping up like compliance, plans, build, processes, architecture, identify, simulation. I can go over them: code, You can have a look at all the words that are in there. There's a lot of most important words, but I can drill that down as well. And I just want to see the highest prioritized ones. And then I can, well, let's do 10, not 50. Let's not overwhelm our screen. Have a look here. So these are the 10 most important words that are related to the topic at hand: secure, management, product, threat, software, design, system, perform, security, and risk um, for uh, 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 for threat modeling. If I now click on, let's not click on a biggie, let's go for design. Probably not a big one. Oh, I was wrong, it was a big one. These are all the critical capabilities that are related to the word design, that come up in the word design. So this gives you a way, if you want to focus on just one specific item, word, area, you select design, and up come all the critical capabilities that are related to design. Articulate design vision through prototyping, scenario modeling, strategic roadmaps, etc. And obviously, if I double click on each and every one of those, it pops out and you get to see everything that's behind here. I'll just do that with the top one here, see if it pops open. There we go. See, those are all the activities that are related to this one. If I zoom in, see if it still wants to behave, because it's a bit much that's going on the screen right now. All the topics that are related to threat modeling. So those are the important words. Now, the how, and that's the use case. The how, that's what I've shown you before. These are the top 10 of the highest priorities that you need to have in place. So these are the use cases, the big blue ball. So don't forget that. We've gone through the top 3, and this is basically the top 10 of what we need to have in place in our organization. Another way of looking at the critical capabilities is just bringing up the critical capabilities aligned to the questions that are in place. See, there we go. So these are the critical capabilities and all the questions that are related to them. And I will pan over it. I'll zoom in a bit so you can, in the replay, you can have a look at it. All the critical capabilities and the questions that are related to them. And these are not prioritized here. Oh, they are. I've got the limit. I've only done the top 100. Let's just do the top 10, shall we? So, see what comes up. This is the top 10. So now it's all a bit more manageable. So this is something I would put up on a whiteboard on a screen during a management meeting, and it'd go like, okay, guys and girls, let's go through this and have a look at all these activities. If we have those in place, so these are the blue balls, and then the ping balls, if we can answer those questions in our organization to make sure that we have threat modeling under control. Does your organization need formally documented procedures for the management of security incident responses? All right, if I want to do that, I'm gonna ask here, producer e-commerce photography is in place here. And there, what are statements of acceptable risk? Change configuration management specialists in place here. So that's a way of looking at of bringing up the most important criteria and the most important questions related to it in your organization in relation to threat modeling. Now I told you as well that we had a look at the word cloud, but like we have the word cloud, there's the related topics cloud. So the topics that are related to threat modeling, and I'll bring them up now. If you want to have a look at that, these are all the topics that are related to threat modeling. See, a massive cloud. Let me zoom in and pan over it a bit. Cyber attack, vulnerability management, privilege management, endpoint security, threat modeling. That's our main topic. Tokenization, analysis of alternatives, PCI DSS, software configuration management, empowered edge computing, data leakage. Look at all this. Zero trust, cyber threat intelligence, threat hunting. I'm going to click on one of those. Let's have a look. Which one shall we do? Shall we do cyber threat intelligence? Let's see what comes up. So these are the two criteria. If I want to dive into cyber threat intelligence in relationship to threat modeling, and I want to dive into that, these are the two things that I need to look at. Guarantee your processes involved in working with threat modeling systems, and partner with finance to develop analytics and modeling to invest in setting cost targets, support your organization in negotiation and translation into business case projects. I'm going to double click on those and see what comes up. They're related to threat modeling. Questions to ask here is for this one: what default security settings are there to protect the user, and why is threat modeling important? Simple way to get the conversation going. Why is threat modeling important? And I'd ask that to our intelligence specialist and principal cybersecurity risk engineer. Ask a question. Now, these are all the related topics to threat modeling, but let's just drill that down a bit and go for just the top, let's say 10. See what comes up. These are the top 10. So we have cloud security, operation strategy, IT security spending, web application security, cloud governance, information security architecture, offensive security, field service management software, cybersecurity risk management. So these are all the topics that are related to threat modeling that are of importance to have under control as well. Well, you can understand that web application security and application security are big ones. So let's just click on application security and boom, there we go. These are all the ones that we need to have in place to make sure that application security in relation to threat modeling is in place. So threat modeling for application security. Warrant that your workforce is involved in threat modeling techniques as STRIDE, for example. Certify your process works closely experienced in application security domains like threat modeling, DevSecOps. Be a security champion and build secure by design in place. We want to have shift left people, a lot of DevSecOps in place. So this is the top 10 of the highest of the most important topics related to threat modeling, and you can drill down on those as well and just go and dive into it, and you get more information behind that. Now, I started out with telling you that all these critical capabilities are prioritized. So here we have the must-have, for instance. Now let's just have a look at how they're organized. They're organized in 5 specific areas. They're organized in must-have, should-have, ought-to-have, might-have, and lastly, could-have, which is, maybe we'll look at that later. Maybe we'll do that later. So these are all the priorities in there. If I click on must-have, you'll get to see all the must-have critical capabilities, and I'll zoom out a bit on that one. All the must-have critical capabilities. I'm getting told I have a question in the chat, so I'm going to go to the chat now. Do you have any file about it? Is the question that Trong is asking. Yes, I do. Go and have a look at the link in the show notes, and go and have a look at the link at store.theotherservice threat modeling critical capabilities. Scroll down. That's where you find the full Kanban, and you can play around with that. That Kanban obviously is then for sale as well if you want to use it for commercial purposes, but it's free to just have a look at it and play around with it, the whole file. I hope that answered your question, Trom. So when we go back to the critical capabilities here, we see the urgency and the most urgent ones, and the highest prioritized ones, and all the critical capabilities that are related to them. So the ones in the middle, closer to the center, those are the more important ones, and then they just sort of pan out to the outer rim, to the outer side of the lesser importance, where it goes into the next area, which is should have. Click on should have, we get to see that as well. Bam, there they all are, all the critical capabilities that are related to should have for threat modeling. Now, another thing that you've probably seen already is the job roles that people are looking at in organizations. So what kind of job roles are related to threat modeling? Here are all the job roles that are related to threat modeling. These are live job roles. These are job roles from real organizations out there, real organizations that look for people in threat modeling roles, and what kind of roles they are. What kind of roles they fulfill. Senior advisor to threat management, intelligence manager, security operations, lead pen tester, hardware hacking. And what I can do here is I can have a look at what kind of those people, what kind of questions do I need to ask those people? What are the opportunities and threats to your program? What are the main challenges to apply threat modeling in agile software development? All the questions I asked my lead pen tester. Is the quality process documented? How easy was it to get all the information required by the architecture to follow the guidelines? I can go with senior security specialist and see what I need to ask that person in our organization. What poses a threat to data privacy? How easy was it to get all the information required to follow the guidelines? If I then click on what poses a threat to data privacy, let's see what comes up. We get the critical capability that's aligned to it. So this is what we need to have in place. So senior security specialist, what would pose a threat to data privacy? We need to make sure that we develop experience working on several privacy-focused projects, such as privacy by design, privacy enhancing technologies, data policy, management, privacy infrastructure, privacy usability, and or privacy threat modeling. So a lot of privacy in place. Threat modeling based on threat modeling, and it's got a high priority here. So that is the who. Now, if I go down in the who and I filter out only the highest important ones, these are the most important job roles in relation to threat modeling in place. Cyber threat intelligence analyst lead, senior security engineering manager, producer e-commerce photography, AWS security principal technical program manager, marketing cloud, director enterprise security, cyber threat analyst, remote, senior security engineer, application security. These are the roles you'll be looking for when you want to dive into threat modeling. So you might want to be a cyber threat analyst, which would be great to work remotely. These are the questions that person would need to ask. So for instance, if you're looking for a job role, one of these job roles, be sure that you can answer those questions in that job role. And that's what the Kanban will definitely help you with, to make sure that you get the right answers to these questions. What is the threat of substitute products or services? Here they come. These are all the areas you need to look at when you need to answer that question when you're in a job interview, for instance, or even when you've got the role or you're in a management team and your team members ask you, what do we need to do here? So this is another way of looking at it, all the roles that are in there and the activities that they need to fulfill to make sure threat modeling is successful. Now, with that, I've given you a lot of information to ponder about, to have a look at, to think about, and I'm going to leave you with the full cloud of all the activities that are in the Kanban, in the threat modeling threat modeling knowledge graph, what we're looking at right here. Do have a look at the link down below in store.theotherservice.com. You can play around, like I said, with all the Kanbans, with the Kanban that's in there. All the critical capabilities and the questions are in there, and you'll have a ball and great insight in using that right away. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you again tomorrow.